Hello and welcome to the Star Citizen Monthly Report. Every month, CIG put out a detailed document of what they've been working on the months previous. In this video, we'll take a look at the main points of interest from all the studios working on Star Citizen during the month of February 2016. Obviously, they are unable to tell us some stuff they're working on, especially for Squadron 42, and this month is also very 2.2 centric, and all of the studios did a huge amount of work on that. In the Cloud Imperium Games Los Angeles studio, engineering have been working on how players will interact with objects with contextual UIs and descriptions of what actions you can perform with any given object. They've been updating the shield system and its pipeline, and they're now using a tool called Data Forge, which allows them to quickly add data in game. Tech design, they've been fixing loads of bugs with the 2.2 PTU and release, obviously, completed the grey box stage for the Jean Scout, started refactoring in-game masses, starting with ships, completing the white box for Caterpillar with the art team, and they're now designing how the power and cooling systems will function within ships. Art. They've been updating the Drake style guide, working with the MISC Reliant and its levels of detail, cockpit, UI redesign. Some of these are, interestingly, processes that are going to be needed to get the ship flight ready and not just hangar ready. They've also been making the high poly undersuit armor that will go literally under our armor, and they've also been working on some UEE Navy item variants. They've also been looking at the first pass on the heavy armor concept, so hopefully we'll see some more about heavy armor soon. The tech content team there have been tackling animation bugs for 2.2, reviewing ship LODs and normalizing mesh counts and density, trying to get ship performance at its best possible level. They've also been performing the level of detail passes on ship components, landing gear, escape pods, thrusters, all that sort of thing. And they've been doing some research and development on rigging for the Vandal. The narrative team, they've been heavily focused on Squadron 42 at the moment, checking if any extra pickup lines need to be done from actors, fleshing out more of the lore support for the Persistent Universe landing zones, and working on updates to the Galactic Guide and Star Map. The quality assurance team, well, they've worked on a variety of issues and testing, including the new hostility feature, the Sabre flight performance and its equipped loadouts, new cooler component implementation, EVA adjustments and zone grid transitions, ship animations, the transition from 16 players to 24 players in Crusader, and shield recharge times. In the CIG or Cloud Imperium Games Austin studio, the Persistent Universe team have been working a lot on persistence, where data will persist across play sessions. They have been laying the groundwork and back end for all that important stuff. They've also started testing the in-game shopping. That's with Kasaba Outlet, the clothing store. There's also talks of player health, ship and item health, currency and reputation all being part of persistence. The store, the Kasaba Outlet store, should have clothing racks with items and augmented reality tags for your Mobiglass. It will have more added to it in the future too. They've also finished the art phase for the Jean Scout, obviously, and now they're working on the Herald. They've completed lighting passes on the Levski or Nix landing zone. They've also completed several style guides for clothing manufacturers in game, developed animations for use in ArcCorp's Area 18, and they've been working on enter and exit speeds for the Aurora and Avenger. They've also wrapped up work on the Friends 2.0 system. The live operations team down there, well, they've been working on getting 2.2 fixed and tested into the hands of us players as well. They've also been testing a variety of its features. They've established new protocols for the PTU wave invites that focus on issue council engagement and structured playtesting. Downloading patches and data from CIG effectively costs them money, so they're making processes more efficient. They're going to have incremental patch updates and that sort of stuff to reduce the amount of bandwidth necessary to get deployments to us as well. They're very excited to now be working on 2.3 as well. The analytics reporting system has undergone major improvements improvements as well on the client and data side, making build times significantly faster. And they have new inclusion/exclusion system for features and assets that are added to builds now, so they can easily decide which are going to be included and which are not going to be included at the touch of a button. In the Foundry 42 UK studio, the design team have been working on the new player experience, making learning curves much less steep for new backers, including a simple UI or user interface set, refactoring controls to make them more consistent across the board, so whether you're in a ship, whether you're in an EVA or on the ground, there should be a slightly more simple control mechanism there. The Moby Glass is getting a lot of attention too. They've been working on scanners for ships and FPS as well as sub-targeting of components. That's underway as well. There's lots and lots of balancing work they've been doing for a variety of different things. This should be coming hopefully in 2.3. The Idris is edging ever closer to a game-ready state. They've been flying around and testing it with crews around the verse. Audio team, so they've been fixing various audio issues with lots of different things, including that huge distortion bug we had a while ago. Lots of work on Squadron 42. There is masses and masses of work to be done, obviously, for Squadron 42 for them. They talk about a monitored audio system, which we're going to see soon enough. They've been working on dialogue pipeline and database stuff. Squadron 42 is going to be very character dialogue centric. So there's going to be lots of audio options there. They've submitted a version 2.0 of their new music system as well, which will make sound hopefully more immersive rather than distracting. They've also created new content for ship-based space combat. They've improved the audio of various systems, thrusters, EVA, ships, all that sort of jazz. There is a prototype for new automated footsteps, and there's a firearm session due at the end of March to capture outdoor gunfire. The engineering team, they've been getting the hostility system ready for 2.2, so that's the safe zones, criminal levels, reputation and hacking. And they've also been overhauling the code for turrets, working on scanning of ships, cargoes and equipment. There's going to be various scanners and scan blockers that you're going to have, and this is all going to be incorporated not just to ships but into the first-person shooter FPS stuff as well. They've also been getting the EVA system more and more solid. The cover system is getting better and better, and now they've started work on prone and vaulting animations. The graphics team, they've completed some research on development on gas cloud tech and completed a roadmap for that system too. They've moved on to focus onto some more facial tech to make sure it's streamlined as possible performance-wise. There's been updates to bloom and lens flare. The new system will allow for a more subtle glow and softer fall off, and its performance will also scale better with high resolutions. With the flare system, an artist has to create a flare set for each light that generates flares, and simulating different lenses for cinematics versus gameplay, which requires a lot of manual work creating multiple sets. There's also a limit to the amount of flares that can be rendered per frame before they start breaking. They're working on a system to procedurally render flares in screen space with a more physically based method, and the new system should significantly reduce the workload for artists and make it easier to change the look of the scene on the fly. The VFX team have been getting the Vanguard and Sabre flight ready, obviously, and that did some research and development for the Jean Scouts effects. They've also been working on a lot of Squadron 42 environmental effects. The art team, they've been busy with lots of concepts, including the Idris gravity generator room, the Idris cargo room, power plants, quantum drives, stuff for the Bengal, military props, Shubin pilot briefing room, the Shubin bridge. Loads and loads and loads of stuff there that the art team have been concepting at the moment. Another one of the things I want to mention there is obviously the gravity room, the Scourge railguns, final pass. They've also been doing rail attachment systems and ammo, and they've also started work on a new small ship, which I assume is the small miner, but it might not be. The props team have completed the first couple of coolers and shield generators that are now in our hands. Now they've moved on to power plants, and they're also focusing on some of the low-tech props for Squadron 42 and the Persistent Universe that will be used in a variety of situations. Environmental art team, they've been fleshing out environments for Squadron 42 again, and the ships team there, they've been planning to have all the ship assets that are required for Squadron 42 fully completed within the next few months. Highlights that they've currently been doing is pulling the Bengal into a metric system that will take full advantage of its or a modular construction like they have with the Idris, meaning they can have amazing visuals but keep in-game performance high. The Idris and the Javelin have continued onto final production as well. Javelins will be having a far more gritty feel to them to suit their role as a destroyer. Production is also nearly complete on the Starfarer Gemini. In the Foundry 42 Frankfurt office, they have increased their staff to 37. The AI team have completed the first pass on refactoring for the human perception system. So this is the way AI sees and hears objects in the world, as well as what to track as things that they should be targeting, fighting, running towards, that sort of stuff. Using the CryEngine vision map, they've made a flexible system that is very low resource-wise to your CPU for vision perception. Lots of progress has been made on subsumption too. This is basically the systemic dynamic behaviors and actions based on the situations for AI. This can be them getting on with their daily lives or reacting to combat scenarios. They now have a tool which creates subsumption routines. They have the first version of NPCs running with subsumption, and their code is extremely optimized already. 50 characters running around doing different activities only uses around 12 KB of memory. They have also improved the AI cover usage, making sure that the NPCs, among other things, won't use cover that's too close to each other, so they're not like clipping into each other, they're not making bad use of cover. They can more easily set AI actions now, as well as setting assignments, so that's getting NPCs to do much more high level goals like attack a specific target. The build ops team recently switched to a new system, the bin XML assets for release builds now as default, so this allows them a lot more efficiency. There is a lot of changes and improvements and fixes being deployed as well. Their database backend is now allows data to persist through server or service reboots too, which is really useful from their end. The cinematics team, they've improved a crucial scene before the Admiral Bishop's speech. They've done previs work on the Bengal carrier. They're doing PCAP and visual prototyping for an alien holotech, Starfarer, and some other scenes too. They've continued to refine assets like Admiral Bishop's head and the first scene with him in the Senate. They've also been improving their timeline module, TrackView, as well. VFX have helped get the Jean Scout ready for release, and TechArt have also worked on first-person shooter weapon rigs and developing the animation pipeline. The engine programming team, they've made lots of progress on data transfer protocols. That's critical to loading times, basically, and the object container system, which will allow for seamless gameplay. The focus here is to get large areas to load with as little memory and processing power as possible. The next step will extend what they currently have to space stations and ships so that they can load complex objects more efficiently. Code team, they've been working on the WAF system rollout. That means that devs can basically compile builds much faster. The public crash handler came out with 2.2. They worked on that. They've improved future patch downloading as well. They've been optimizing mech data storage that will basically reduce GPU bandwidth required or used. There's lots of work also on procedural tech. We're going to hear more about that in the future though. The design team, they've been working on the basic layout for the Hurston landing zone, which is a heavily industrial planet owned by Hurston Dynamics in the Stanton system. They've made a working power distribution prototype. They're now moving on to life support systems and depressurization systems. They finished work on the oxygen breathing and stamina system as well. That's going to be like what you do when you run out of oxygen, and lots of stuff there, how it affects your character in FPS. They've been looking at a loot generation and looting system too, trying to make it realistic and immersive. The BHVR studio, or BEHAVIOUR, they've been doing lots of work on the Hurston landing zone as well. They've whiteboxed all of the shop locations and begun paintovers. There are 10 shops in total at the moment. There are various improvements coming to the mobiGlass and AR experience. They've been working on lots of other stuff with March, Flare items, and they're going to have the AR information attached to them. So they'll have little labels explaining what they are and what they do. They've been working loads on 2.2 and getting it all polished and debugged, and updating those assets for that as well. They've also been creating the low-tech style generic props for planets and Squadron 42 scenes. Down in the Turbulent studio, they've been redesigning the ship's stat page, creating a new UI and adding various features and filters. They've also got the multi-factor authentication system they're currently working on. That's basically increased account security. That's continuing to be developed. They've continued to work on what is basically known as Orgs 2.0. It's going to allow us to have greater ergonomics when interacting with the site, and allows orgs to communicate and organise themselves much better with a variety of new features. The in-house panic service is also now live, allowing access to all crash data for the devs in the form of a database, so they can more easily pull that. More importantly, they've been working a lot with Cloud Imperium Games to get persistence up and running. More about this in the future. Anyway, guys, that was the February 2016 monthly report. I hope that was enjoyable, not too confusing. That was all in notes form. If you want to read the full one, I'll link it in the description below. It is occasionally worth a read, but there's a load of information there, and a lot of it is padded out with stuff that's not necessarily relevant. I hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and check out some more of my videos, and I will see you in the verse.